Folks, the Street Fighter 6 beta starts this weekend for just 3 days, and unfortunately, I don't have a key. I'm not going to be able to play, so those of you who also didn't get into the beta, I'm right there with you. Who knows? Maybe I'll be able to get one from Capcom at the last second or something, but for right now, I'm just going to have to make do by doing what I do best, which is doing some analysis, doing some deep diving on the footage that's available and discussing some of the things that maybe some of you who haven't played the game, I did have the chance to play the game at EVO, so I have some insight there, or people who just haven't seen everything that there is to see about the game and don't know about some of the mechanics that aren't super well advertised. So there's a lot of insane depth in this game, and there's a lot of stuff that I want to talk about today. So we're doing a list right now of some what I would call hidden mechanics, things that aren't really like explicitly advertised in the game in terms of how it works, that are going to be really important to know if you want to take the game seriously and try to do well online, in tournaments, whatever, against your friends. Or if you're just excited for the game, maybe I can give you some insight on what to expect once we all finally get the chance to play it, even if we weren't lucky enough to get a beta key. So with that, let's jump right into the list here of some of these hidden mechanics. And if you guys like the video, maybe hit the like button and the subscribe button. Maybe if we can get enough numbers on this, that'll send a message to Capcom that that they should consider me next time there's something like this. Maybe they should hook me up next time. So yeah, help me out by doing that. But let's get into the list. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about here, there is a new type of counter in the game that has not existed in Street Fighter games before. It's called a punish counter. So we've always had something called a counter hit. The idea behind a counter hit is you get hit out of the startup of an attack. So you can see an example right here. Ken is going for, I don't know, a crouching medium kick or something, but the move doesn't have time to come out. He gets hit by Juri, and he gets a counter hit. So counter hits give you extra damage, and they usually give you extra frame advantage as well. But now there's a new type of counter hit called the punish counter, and that's when you hit a move while it's recovering. So you can see an example right there. Juri misses with this standing heavy kick or whatever the move is, and then Ken hits her during recovery with a crouching medium kick and gets a punish counter. And it really seems like punish counters give you a better benefit than just a regular counter hit. It seems like a lot of times you might even get like a crumple or a combo situation that wouldn't normally be possible. So like you can see right here, Ken standing heavy kick on punish counter actually launches the opponent right there. So that is a special effect that only happens if it hits as a punish counter. It does not do that on regular counter hits. So new combo possibilities will be available on punish counter. Here's another use of punish counter, by the way, is that he is going to punish a whiffed attack, a whiffed throw. He punishes with his own throw, gets the punish counter, and now this throw does a hard knockdown. Usually you are going to be able to tech the knockdown off of a throw, but not if it's a punish counter. So it's going to give you extra effects. You're going to want to get those big whiff punishes, because that is going to give you major damage. Probably the best use of punish counter that I've seen so far is right here with Guile. Guile gets a punish counter crouching medium kick, and it combos into flash kick. I don't think he's ever been able to do this before. This is crazy. Crouching medium kick is usually a really good poking tool in most Street Fighter games with Guile, and now he can get a combo off it if he whiff punishes one of your normals. So that's insane. And another thing to note is pay attention to the drive gauge up here. You can see you do lose drive gauge as you block, so it kind of acts as your block meter a little bit. You also lose drive gauge when you get punish countered. So watch CPU Guile's drive gauge right here. Yup, he loses like 3/4 of a drive gauge stock for getting punish countered there. Kind of insane. And you'll see the same thing here in our earlier example when Ken gets the counter throw, the punish counter throw right here. Juri, she's at like a stock and a third maybe. Now she's down to just a third of a stock. So that took away a ton of her drive gauge. And you can see this actually is going to result in the Juri player getting exhausted here. So now the Juri player is exhausted, you know, not able to use any drive stuff, and of course, they end up losing the round. So you really got to watch out when you're throwing out moves, especially big punishable moves like Dragon Punch and stuff. Watch out, because you're going to lose that drive gauge, you're going to eat a lot of damage. It's not where you want to be. Moving on, let's talk a little bit more about the drive gauge and this burnout state. I called it exhaust, but actually it's called burnout. That is the official in-game name. You can see Ken here, he goes from like over 2 bars of drive gauge, 1 punish counter here, is going to take him down to half a bar. And then the other Ken confirms into super, and it turns out that supers will also drain the drive gauge. So Ken puts the other Ken into Burnout with this super. And let me tell you guys, you really do not want to be burnt out. I know a lot of people have talked about this, but you lose access to so much. You lose access to your EX moves, obviously, to stuff like drive counter, drive rush, all these different drive mechanics, and being burnt out is the only time that you can be dizzy. So you can see right here, Ken is burnt out, and if you block a drive impact in the corner while burnt out, you will get dizzy. There is no normal dizzy in the game. The only way to get dizzied is by getting burnt out. So you're gonna have to manage that drive meter really, really well to avoid that. And you can impact your opponent's drive meter, obviously, by making them block, by hitting them with supers, by hitting them with counter hits and punish counters as well. So pay attention to that. All right, so the next mechanic I want to talk about is drive rush. So drive rush seems like an insanely powerful mechanic. So you can see it right off the bat here. That's what Juri did right there to get that fast dash, is drive rush. So normally, drive rush is going to take 3 bars of drive gauge, but if you're doing a parry and you drive rush out of the parry, you can see right here, it only costs 1. So if we go really slow, you can see that's what CPU Juri is doing here. She does a few frames of parry. You can see that's why she turns blue, and then she cancels that into drive rush, and it only costs 1 bar of drive, and then you get to do a follow-up attack. And what's really special about drive rush is it's actually going to improve the properties of whatever attack you do during it. So whatever normal you press is going to get extra frame advantage. So this is going to enable combos that wouldn't normally be possible. So here we can see Juri using drive rush for a frame trap setup. So there's a jab out of drive rush. It's going to have extra frame advantage here on block. And then she does, I believe that's forward plus medium punch. I'm not exactly sure what move, but regardless, it frame traps, gets the counter hit, and Juri's able to get a combo. And here you can see an example of using drive rush in a combo. So Kimberly lands 2 jabs. Normally, she wouldn't really be able to get much off this. You can't really link out of her jab into anything. But she's going to cancel with drive rush. It does cost 3 whole bars because she's canceling a normal. But then she gets crouching medium punch, crouching heavy punch, I believe is the link. And because of the extra frame advantage on drive rush there, that combo is going to work. So pretty crazy stuff, man. I feel like especially the fact that you can do drive rush for just 1 meter is going to be really, really powerful and neutral. You're going to have to be sticking out those buttons to try to stop the opponent from just drive rushing into your face and hitting you with a frame advantage normal. But at the same time, sticking out normals just randomly can also be risky because you can get punish countered and they can get a combo off it. So really seems like a nuts mechanic and something that's going to open up both combo possibilities, pressure. It's going to help you get in if you're a rushdown character. Very excited to use this mechanic more. All right, the next thing I want to talk about is going to be the mechanics for sort of uppercut and anti-air type attacks in the game. So Guile, for example, if you actually look at his move list in Street Fighter 6, it actually notes it is invincible against jumping attacks, making it useful as an anti-air technique. So something that I've noticed is seemingly every character that has any kind of move like this, like an intentional anti-air move, like Ryu and Ken, Dragon Punch, or whatever, they all are going to have this property that makes them invincible to aerial attacks. Think similar to like 6P in Guilty Gear, like forward plus punch is going to have that upper body invincibility and be like a guaranteed, you know, anti-air button. And that seems to really be the case in this. I know a change they made in 5 was they made non-EX uppercuts no longer invincible, and that does still seem to be the case. Non-EX uppercuts are only going to be invincible to aerial attacks. If you want full body invincibility, you got to burn EX. So if you want an example of what this looks like in older games without this property, back in Street Fighter 4, you would actually oftentimes trade with moves like Flash Kick when trying to use them as an anti-air. It was not that consistent. Chun Li is another example of a character who is really helped out by this change. So back in Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, Chun Li had this up kicks move, which they actually brought back for her in Street Fighter 6. But in this game, it doesn't really have any kind of invincibility that is going to help you get through the opponent's attack. So you can see you can actually get beat clean by jump-ins if you're trying to anti-air with this attack and you do it too late. But that is not going to be the case in Street Fighter 6. It's confirmed that it has invincibility to airborne attacks. So now this is going to act as a really, really reliable anti-air for Chun Li. And they even made the input easier. You don't have to do charge down and then up plus kick anymore. You just do down, down plus kick. So now Chun Li, for the first time in I can't remember how long, is just going to have an insanely reliable on-reaction anti-air that's invincible to airborne attacks. This is a character who is really amazing on the ground due to her walk speed and her long-range normals, and now she's going to be able to keep you on the ground because she's going to have a nice, easy, reliable anti-air. So Chun is seeming really, really helped out by this change, but honestly, every character who has had difficulty anti-airing before, I think is going to have a much easier time in this game because they seem to be giving out invincibility to airborne attacks pretty liberally. It seems like most of the characters so far have at least one dedicated anti-air move that's going to work like that. So I think jumping is definitely seeming very, very risky in Street Fighter 6. You know, it's usually risky to jump in Street Fighter games, but a lot of people have compared 6 to Third Strike because they both have parry. But Third Strike has air parry and Street Fighter 6 does not. So I definitely think jumping is going to be pretty risky in Street Fighter 6 because everyone is going to have access to some pretty powerful anti-airs. So one other thing I wanted to talk about here is a visual change or a visual feature, which I think is pretty cool, which is you can see a lot of people have talked about they really like the fact that you smoothly transition from character select into this loading screen. And something that people have noticed is the loading screen here actually shows you what stage you're going to. So you can see there were all the cherry blossom trees and stuff during that loading screen. And sure enough, we're going to the cherry blossom stage here. So the characters are walking to the stage. And then you can see another example here. We've got all the hanging paper lanterns and stuff around the loading screen. So you can pretty much guess that we're going to this temple stage, which is going to have all the hanging lanterns once we get in there. See, there we go. So the loading screen, I think it's really cool that it is going to change. It's a nice little subtle touch. And I think in general, something that I've noticed a lot with Street Fighter 6 is there is a lot of attention to detail. To me, the game doesn't seem like it's being rushed or like they're doing the bare minimum at all. It seems like they're doing more than they have to. We've already seen there's so many modes in place. Like you can play all the old arcade games and the battle hub. We got the single player mode with like the free roaming. We've got like the mode where you fight the Mega Man enemies or whatever. Like, it all seems really crazy. So overall, I'm feeling really positive about Street Fighter 6. I can't wait for my next chance to play it. And I hope you guys found this list interesting and informative. Let me know if there are any other little subtle things you've noticed about the game that you'd like to see me cover in a future video. And let me just give a huge shout out to Justin Wong. His name has been right there for most of the video because he made a bunch of footage for this game freely available for everyone to use. So that's what I've been studying and referencing for a lot of these things. So shout outs to Justin Wong, the GOAT. I've got his channel linked in the description. Make sure to subscribe if you're not already. And with that, I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. And if you got into Street Fighter 6 beta, I'm very jealous of you, but I hope you have fun. Bye, everybody.